So let me go ahead and get the thing out the way that this video for me was bound to happen. I planned on doing this a couple weeks ago, but I just never got around to working on it. But the previous update before the one we got, which spoilers, we got the update today. Pretty sure everyone's talking about it. That last update really pushed me from making a tier list. And so, that is what we're doing. So is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. It's Right Feather, and you may notice that there is something wrong with me. And you probably know by the tone of my voice. I'm getting this out. That I'm not happy today. But I am a little bit happy because I watched Wolfblood 7's most recent upload today. And I felt very, very happy on seeing the best insult to a Condor of my whole life. I do feel like I can somewhat insult a Condor a little better. I'll probably do that once I get to ranking the Condor. But, Wolfblood 7, please don't come at me. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm just saying just never mind. Just don't come at me. We're besties. So, that's the point of this video. I'm going to be ranking all of the tier 4 robots and not the ones below it. This will also include the ultimates like the Ultimate Destrier, Phantom, Bulgasari. Any robot that's gotten an ultimate so far, it's on this list. And note, the Ducks and Ultimate Minos are not on this list. I'm going to probably do this again after every 10 updates. I think that makes sense. Maybe. We'll have to see what happens. If it's a tier 4 robot, then it's on this list, excluding the Ducks and Ultimate Minos, like I said. So anyway, let's go ahead, and we obviously see I've separated this into tiers, because this is a tier list. From S tier, which I think it's good, A tier, it's definitely good, but not the best. B tier, it's alright. C, it's average. D, it's not good. And F tier, it is laughably bad. And to go ahead and get things out the way, this video is my opinion. So I better not be seeing like, oh, you're probably gonna put the Aochachi in F tier, aren't you? I better not see a single nerd emoji in this comment section. If I do, I'm gonna flip a table. Sorry, guys. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to it, starting with the Harpy and Siren. So these two were pretty good when they came out, but definitely have somewhat fallen off of the wayside. I will still say they're great as free-to-play robots, but they're certainly pretty difficult to get if you don't have the silver to build the components. And especially with the Harpy, I know got all the attention, but why hasn't the Siren gotten a special edition yet? The Harpy they got the Kitsune Harpy a long time ago, and yet the Siren got nothing. Pixonic, what the hell? Anyway, I'm gonna put these two in A tier. This may be controversial, but I know there's gonna be several of them in this video. Probably. And again, better not see any nerd emoji comments in this video. I better not, or I'll find you. Alright. Actually, I'm gonna move into B tier. They're definitely good, but they're not certainly the best. So, next up's the Typhon. And I will certainly say that this robot is definitely one of those robots that just refuses to die out. Mostly. The Condor really messed up this robot a ton. And maybe the Aochachi in Crisis to a small degree. But I will say the Typhon is definitely a solid robot. Like the blackout ability is very helpful, and especially if you time it right to a Condor that's on the ground. Not trying to insult Wolfblood here, but EMP is a must-need thingy if you want to fight a Condor. Like you need to kill that Condor before its ability goes up, which is like, how is the Condor ever deemed acceptable to release for how broken it is? But whatever. But for the Typhon, I'm really tempted to put it in A tier, but I don't think it deserves it. Alright, you know what? I'll put it in B tier above the Harpy and Siren. I guess that'll do. Orochi. The Orochi. Let me go and say that of all the anniversary robots that's ever come out, the Orochi is the one that has aged the worst out of all of them. To the youngsters will never know, but the Orochi was pretty great during its heyday. And then, like Icarus, it flew too close to the sun. Or, in this case, rolled its way to the sun because... I'll just shut up. But anyway, simply put, the Orochi is not as good as it used to be, which is kind of sad. But I'm sadly gonna put the Orochi in D tier. It is bad, but it's definitely not worth the F tier. Right, the Behemoth. Now the Behemoth, I certainly don't know. The Behemoth is a really good robot for the most part. Like, I will go ahead and break it up front. Its firepower is super good. 4 heavies is insanity. I mean, like, look at the Crisis in Bagari. But I do think while the Behemoth is definitely the worst of the 4 heavy weapons, I do think the Behemoth is a lot more tanky compared to the others. I mean, Crisis is a glass cannon. The Behemoth. Oh, and also let's also not forget when the Behemoth got buffed to the point where it can now walk during its ability. Like back in my day, the Behemoth couldn't walk when its ability was active. Like, you had to find one position and you were stuck there until you can deactivate your ability and move again. But like getting that buff was a big deal for the Behemoth. But even though it is worse than the Crisis in Bagari, I'm gonna put it in A tier. I'm gonna put the Behemoth in A tier, actually. Alright, the Damir. The Damir is an odd one for me. When I did see Wolfblood's video about when he mentioned when the Damir pilot got nerfed in like 24 hours because you can get it got itself to full HP pretty quickly, and Pixonic nerfed that pretty quickly, and yet they didn't do the same for the Condor, which I find it pretty stupid. The Damir is a good support robot, but I genuinely think it is almost completely not good, especially compared to everything almost has Shieldbreaker these days, like Unstable Conduit, the actual Shieldbreaker module, or just any pilots like the Fafnir or Nether with their Shieldbreaker pilots. It's just the Damir is really falling off the wayside. I'm gonna put it in C tier. That's whatever. The Invader. Now we have our first robot that got an Ultimate Edition. Now with the Ultimates, I'm gonna be ranking both the original and their Ultimate Edition at the same time. So the regular Invader is definitely tanky. Probably takes the crown for the robot with the most amount of durability at level 1. I think it was I think this thing has 178,000 durability just at level 1, which is kind of insane. But I could definitely agree, its firepower is not the best. But like, it kind of makes sense. You would expect a sort of tank, to have low firepower. The Invader, and definitely the suppression from it, is super helpful. I'm gonna put the regular Invader, I definitely will say I don't think it deserves A tier. I'm just gonna put it in B tier. And as for, where is it? There it is. As for the Ultimate Invader, I think it's pretty okay. I think it's a pretty okay Ultimate. Definitely not the best. Definitely not the best Ultimate. But the Ultimate, I'm definitely putting the Ultimate in A tier. I mean, especially if you put it breathes back here isn't the best. Especially, I found it kind of ridiculous as an Ultimate pilot, where it just buffs the ability damage, which 500% more ability damage is super good, but the Invader's damage from the Invader ability is almost non-existent. So yeah. Alright, next is the Blitz. I don't know, you guys. The Blitz is a weird one to me. The Blitz was certainly good. I mean, if I will go ahead and say, if you want to run the Blitz, you have to have Clive Vicious. That extra, I know there's a lot of things that can get through that defense, that, but having defense at all is better than having just a need shield, which I genuinely think the defense point should have been part of its ability the whole time. The Blitz, its firepower is definitely not the best, but it's certainly good for what it is. I'm going to put the Blitz in C tier to match with the Damir. Alright, next up we have ourselves probably, I think, the definitive free-to-play robot, and that is the Fenrir. The Fenrir is super... right off the bat, the Fenrir is going in S tier. I mean, it's definitely... I know. Like I just said with the Blitz, that there's a lot of things in the game that can go through that resistance, and the Fenrir is basically useless against Titans since all their weapons have defense mitigation. But come on, the Fenrir is super good. The Sub-Fenrir is very good, especially if you have Bernadette Wolf or whatever her name is, the pilot that came with the ultimate one. Which, speaking of ultimate, I think we can all agree the ultimate Fenrir the Fenrir did not, all caps, not deserve an ultimate. The Fenrir is already a good robot, and the fact that I got an ultimate edition is kind of stupid. Definitely the one robot that I think the ultimate should not have happened. But yeah, the ultimate Fenrir is almost invincible. Almost not, because the Condor can actually get through it, which is very stupid. But yeah, both Fenrirs automatic S tier. They were my S tier, automatically gonna be put in S tier before I even started this video. Alright, next is the Hades. The first of the Pantheon robots. I don't know which one's is. Yeah, I think Aries, Hades, and Nemesis are the Pantheon robots. So the Hades is definitely the worst. I think the Hades is the worst of the Pantheon robots. Its built-in weapon is not bad, but it's certainly not good. And even though the Hades is the weakest of the Pantheon, I'm not putting it in D tier. I think C is kind of fine. Oh boy. Next is the Jaeger. Oh man, look how they massacred my boy. The Solid Jaeger is one of my favorite special editions in the game. It's great, but the Jaeger itself, oh my god, it is so bad. Like, it got buffed recently, but I don't think it did anything. So, I'm unfortunately putting the Jaeger in F tier. It is, as much as the special edition and how cool it looks, it is not worth running. Does it make me sad? Yeah, it does. I certainly do think the Ultimates, as stupid as they are, I think the Jaeger is a super good contender for an Ultimate. I mean, it would be cool to see this sniper get the attention it deserves. Next up is the Scorpion, and I'm gonna go ahead and move this in to put this in A tier because the Scorpion is still kind of good. I mean, yes, the Shenlu exists, but the Shenlu is now almost worse than the Scorpion. But that depends on who you're talking. I think the Scorpion is more better than the Shenlu since the Shenlu shield got changed, which I think was way too much of a nerf for it. And the fact you have to wait 5 seconds before you can teleport again is insane. Like, you gotta pray. You need to pray you can survive that long enough to teleport again to get the shield. But at that point, the shield for the Shenlu might as well not exist. It's back to the Scorpion. The Scorpion is still good. Its firepower is decent. It's relatively durable. And I think the stealth pilot, Ash, the stealth pilot, is the reason I think the Scorpion's better. The Shenlu doesn't have a stealth pilot. If the Shenlu had the stealth pilot, then I think it's better than the Scorpion. But the fact it means it's definitely worse. Scorpion, still pretty good. Alright, next is the Aochachi. The one I remember back in the day when the Aochachi was at its strongest. Of all the robots that had to get nerfed to the ground, I think the Aochachi was the biggest threat during its heyday. Like, this thing was unstoppable for the most part. And like the Orochi, it definitely is the one meta robot that aged the worst. I would put it in F tier, but like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not. Just bottom of the line, it's definitely not going to C tier. In fact, I'm just gonna screw it. I'm just gonna put it in D tier. I'm sorry for the. Oh yeah, that also reminds me. So it's the Aochachi tier that we get ourselves to the ultimate Aochachi. The ultimate Aochachi, again, I'm probably gonna say this is the last time I'm saying, but the ultimates in general are dumb. But the ultimate Aochachi is super good. And in fact, the ultimate Aochachi is going to S tier. Is going to be put in S tier. And that's not because it's an ultimate. Shut up, nerd emojis. But just the ultimate Aochachi, like, I honestly think it's ridiculous that they didn't just buff the original and make it relevant again. And to this day, I still wonder why the Aochachi is still even a tier 4 robot. It's not worth it to run in Champion League. It's not good anymore. The ultimate Aochachi is strictly better. It can get the stealth on takeoff and before it touches the ground. And plus, its flamethrower is, while it's got the further range and the blast effect, it is almost completely broke. It's almost not working every time it happens. Next is the Aries, and I do think it's strictly better than the Hades. In fact, I think it's the best of the Pantheon robots. But just like the Hades, it's not good anymore. I mean, it would have been alright if it not for the unstable conduit and shield breaker existing. I am going to put it in C tier, but it's definitely going to be above the Damir 2 Blitz and Hades. And that now brings us to the ultimate Aries. I definitely think the ultimate Aries is not the best ultimate, but it's certainly not the worst. I think we can agree that the ultimate Destrier, unless you're running the ultimate Ions and Kirk Sider as your pilot, it's definitely the weakest of the and worst of the ultimates. But the ultimate Aries, I'm probably gonna put it in the low B tier. It's definitely not great. It's not the worst, but I certainly don't think it's the best one. Next is the Erebus. Oh man, I remember when this thing was an absolute pain. Like, the fact that it's a sniper, it's essentially a Typhon with extra range on the blackout, but like no one runs the Erebus anymore. And I'm probably gonna put this thing I'm probably gonna put this thing in. I don't know, guys. Should I even put this thing? Oh, son of a gun. Sorry about that. Where the heck is it? There it is. But yeah, guys, I don't know where to put the Erebus. It's definitely not D or F tier, but just screw it. Just put it in C tier. I'll at least move it above the Blitz and Hades. Again, this video is my opinion. Oh man, I feel so bad for this one robot. Next is the Fafnir, one of my favorite robots in the game. I love the Fafnir with a massive degree. It looks cool. The special editions are just as cool as it. But man, it is so bad. It's definitely it's an okay robot at best. Like, it definitely got the benefit of being able to use Traditionalist, Ghost, and Daredevil as pilot skills now, which I honestly don't know why it didn't have them at the beginning. But that certainly didn't help him. I tried running a Daredevil Fafnir when it happened, but I certainly couldn't make it work. And I will say, my Fafnir video I did yesterday is probably one of my favorites. I'm putting the Fafnir in D tier, but it's definitely gonna be below the Ultimate Aries. Or B tier, sorry. Next to the Hawk. Alright, now we have ourselves the original Titan Killer. We have the Hawk. The Hawk it's not good. It's definitely the better of the Titan Killers, but it just has not aged well at all. Like, especially, I would expect this thing to be a brawler, but this thing is so frail, and the fact that it got nerfed, it kind of hurts it. Like, the reflector not getting the reflector upon takeoff and when it lands is a big deal, and just makes the Hawk a little more risky to use. I'm gonna put the Hawk in B tier. I do think it's slightly better. I think it's slightly better than the Fafnir. Right, next is the Leech, and I'm putting the Leech in A tier. The Leech is going into A tier. Simply, I think the Leech is really good. Well, depends on who you're talking to. The Leech got several buffs over its lifespan, and I do think the Leech is a somewhat alright robot to use. And definitely another good, I would say, I don't know if it's worth calling the Leech a free-to-play robot. But the repulse is super necessary, especially if you're... I've already had a strategy that if I do have to replace the Fafnir with the Leech, I'm going to try and make this a solid Condor counter. If I can. But like the repulse, and remember that there's no robot that's like it. It's the only robot that, well, it did inspire the Reflector a couple years later with its ability, but no other robot has been able to do what the Leech can. But I do think robots like the Raptor do it better. And just in general, the Leech is just A tier. It's really good. Next is the Nightingale. Now this Nightingale got some big buffs for this update. Like, the extra speed is whatever, but the cooldown reduction is seriously huge. Like, if I know correctly, that combined with the pilot with Virginia Walker, its legendary pilot that reduces its cooldown, I think you have like a 10.5 second ability cooldown, which is unheard of. And I'm gonna put the Nightingale at the top of A tier just for that. And plus, this thing is weirdly tanky. Alright, next up we have my original number one favorite robot. We have the Phantom. The Phantom, this thing, I'm gonna say it, its ultimate should not have happened. And I think it did not need it. Like, the fact that the Phantom got an ultimate, like, about 1 or 2 updates after it got, like, 3 super big buffs, is ridiculous to me. But those buffs, the regular Phantom really needed it. And it's durable, it's fast, and quite tanky to a degree. For that, I'm on the regular Phantom in A tier. It's definitely not better than the Leech or anyone else. Actually, now that I say that, I think the Behemoth's gonna go at the bottom of A tier. And now where's the Ultimate Phantom? Yeah, here it is. The Ultimate Phantom, again, should not have happened, but this thing is going to S tier. I think it's strictly better than the Ultimate Outgen. Alright, next is the Revenant, which is getting accumulated hate to Pixonic secretly nerfing it almost every update, which I can kind of see. I never used a Revenant at all throughout most of my time. Like, I've only used it, like, I think once after I got the Ivor Revenant in 2022, at the end of 2023. Or somewhere around 2024, I don't know. But I think it's a super solid robot. And I'm probably going to put it in A tier. And even if it's keeps getting secretly nerfed, I think it's still pretty good. At least I think. Next is the Shell. Probably the one that this robot and the Hellburner are the two de facto hacker robots in the game. And I'm not saying they're stupidly broken, because if they were, they would automatically go in S tier. But I'm just talking about that for hackers in the game. This and the Hellburner are like the one robot they use, literally, and the Arthur as their Titan because of the blast wave. But I did see a hacker one time and shamed him for using a Mercury. But with the Shell is automatically C tier. It's super durable and it's kind of fast, but it's not good anymore. I mean, Wolfblood 7's video with the wave drone to see if the Ichi shields with it kind of work. But I think he kind of succeeded a little bit. But I definitely think that the wave drone is way better on a robot that can fly, especially on like the Condor, Emoji, or the Fafnir, which I'm certainly still here waiting to see. But I'm pretty sure Wolfblood 7 is gonna do with it someday. Or actually, I did actually ask him when we were done with the Fafnir thing if he can do a video off the Fafnir with the wave, and he's going to post a video about it. I don't know when. Don't ask me, but I certainly do have high hopes. Just thank you, Wolfblood. You're amazing. Alright, next up we have the robot that everyone's gonna get for free with the marathon. We have the Khepri. The Khepri was almost the Condor during its time. It was stupidly good during its when it came out. Like, this was the one robot you had to have. Like, you have a Khepri, that's it. You got a good hanger for until it's nerfed. And it took funny enough, if I know correctly, it took like 2 nerfs to finally knock the Khepri off. Maybe 3. Like, it got nerfed once, and it was still stupid good. And I don't know if it's 2 or 3, but it took that many nerfs for the Khepri to finally come off the meta. Like, that would put this in S tier, but it's definitely not as good. I'm going to put it in D tier. Its durability is very solid, but I don't think it's as good. I do think it's... Actually, I'm gonna you know what, low C tier, but I'm bumping the Hades to D. Alright, now we have another one of my top favorites. We have the Revenant. Now, I love the Revenant. I do think this thing needed some justice. It got 1 buff, but I don't think that's enough. But I do think this frankly badass robot, I just want to see get some more attention. Its firepower is the same as the Raptor, and that's also why it doesn't get used, because it's overshadowed by the Raptor, which is, I get it's superior, it's way better, but screw the Raptor. I use what I love. The Revenant, underappreciated, and I'm gonna put the Revenant at the top of B tier. Again, this video is my opinion, not anyone else's, so I better not see any nerd emojis in the comments. And probably I would put this in the bottom of A tier, probably right above the Behemoth. The reason so is I hate its special edition. The Retro Revenant, I would use it for the extra durability, but it is too goofy for me, and this is a badass looking robot for its main regular edition, and the fact they completely got rid of that for its special edition, I am not a fan. And heck, that's why that if you look at my hanger in a lot of my videos, you realize I have a regular one that's at Mark II, not the retro one. I was tempted to, but I'd rather go with what I think looks better. Alright, next up we have probably the most unique robot of all time. We have the Skyros. The Skyros, it's definitely frail if it's out of its shield. Well, that's when its shield goes down. But in its ball form, it is so tanky, it's insane. I mean, it worked, and I will certainly never forget the days where like you see a the Skyros, in my opinion, is probably one of the most infuriating robots it can fight, because unless you have something that has a stupidly high damage output, like the Condor, it is quite difficult to take it down if it's in its ball form. But so running it as a brawler, I don't think it's worth it. Like, this thing is frail once it comes out of its ball form. I'm certainly gonna put. I'm gonna put it in. I'm going to put it in B tier. And you know what? I'm just moving the Behemoth back down to B tier. It's I after everything, all the good things I said, I'm now realizing that it's not good anymore. And plus, the Skyros just looks okay. And next up, we have the Seraph, another Titan killer that has fallen off to the wayside. And I will say that the Seraph is a super nice looking robot, especially when it gets in the air. I love that. But it's definitely the one Titan killer that you can somewhat use. Like the force field, yes, it's not great at all, but it is still somewhat okay. And it's definitely, I think, probably is the best robot for the hunting grounds mode. I'm gonna put it in B tier, in between the Siren and the Invader. If this was a ranking for robots for hunting grounds or extermination, this would be at the top at auto S tier. If this was a ranking for robots that's best used for PvE, you guys can call it extermination all you want, but it was called the hunting grounds when it came out. Jesus Christ. All right, next up, I don't think I know. I think you guys know where I'm putting it. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. The Mars is automatic F tier. The Mars is completely garbage now. Like, this thing was good when it came out, but I'm gonna say it, and you guys will agree that the extra nerf it got a while ago, it did not deserve another nerf. It was perfectly fine. It is worthless to run. It's just so bad. Next is the Angler. The Angler definitely got nerfed a few more times than it should, but I think its durability is pretty good. But I'm gonna put it in B. I'm gonna put it in B tier. The phase shift from its ability is pretty good, but it is kind of rare. It'll be quite rare for you to even get close with it, since it's so slow during its ability. Like, I think if the Angler was a little faster during its ability, I think it would be a lot better. Alright. Next up. I am so sorry for the Nether. I feel so sorry for the Nether and what Pixonic has done to it. This thing got nerfed. This thing carried me a lot when it was at its strongest point. But nowadays, it is probably probably even worse than the Aochachi. It is so frail that it might as well not have a force field. It's just so frail. It's insane to me. Just why have they done it to my boy? I'm so sorry for putting it in F tier, but it doesn't deserve anywhere else below that point. All right, next up is probably one of the most underrated flying bots before the Condor, and that's the Aochachi. This thing is super unique, but also I think very good. I mean, its durability is quite high for a flying robot, and the fact, and probably I'm putting this in high A tier. I do not care what anyone says. This thing, pretty underrated. Its healing from the ability is solid. In fact, and the fact it didn't get nerfed a single time is amazing. Like, the Aochachi is probably one of the most balanced robots in the game. And definitely, like, I better not jinx myself that Pixong's gonna nerf this thing in the future, which they better not. The emoji is perfect, it's balanced, no one complains about it, although I cannot say the same for the weapons. They did not need to get nerfed again. But the emoji is I would certainly call the emoji the perfect robot for PvE. I mean, my younger brother has one on his account, and it's pretty good. Next is the Lynx. The Lynx, probably the one robot I think should not have had the executioner mechanic. I mean, anything that can execute is automatically going to get complaints. And I will say the Lynx is also going in A tier. It's definitely not good enough to run in Champion League. Well, at least if you're that big of a hardcore player. The Lynx is definitely not the best robot to use there, but I think the Lynx is certainly good in the lower leagues, especially in low champ. I will wonder if the nerf and buff it got last update, I don't know if it made it worse or not, but I hope not. Right, next is the Crisis, the robot that everyone thought was the stupidest thing of all time. Like, a sniper that has infinite stealth was broken at the time. Definitely has fallen off the wayside, especially now. Now it takes 7 seconds for it to go back in stealth, which I think was not necessary. The thing was fine. I'm gonna probably put the Crisis in low A tier. Its firepower, like the Behemoth, is super good, but it is extremely frail. And like the 7-second cooldown for its stealth essentially makes cover more extremely valuable. Like, you gotta find cover and then pray that you can survive before your stealth goes off. Next is the Ulfion. The Ulfion is going to be in the bottom of C tier. The Ulfion was not that bad when it came out. And for it being a Titan killer, it was definitely good, but over time, with more and more people getting their hands on it, it became a massive complaint in the current day. And like, yeah, I agree. And we were happy it got nerfed, but it got nerfed way too hard. The only complaint people had with it is that its ability duration was too short and too long, which I can certainly say for an upcoming robot right beside that Bulgasari. So, next up is the Aochachi. I don't know. The Condor is certainly broken, but the Aochachi was the Condor before it was complained about. This thing, the Aochachi is automatically the Aochachi is going to a high A tier. This thing was complained so much when it came out. Like, this thing was considered to be the crisis counter, especially since it's dot protection, but this thing was a monster. And probably my least favorite robot in the game when it came out. And next up is probably the one robot in the game that has broken a big rule in the game, and that is the Dagon having more than 4 weapons. The Dagon sounds interesting, though. Like, a robot with 6 weapons is a big no-no in the game. Especially that all robots besides the Dagon and Eiffel should not have more than 4 weapons. The Dagon is still pretty good, and no matter what build you run on it, it's pretty solid. For that, I'm gonna put the Dagon in A tier. I'm probably gonna put actually, now that I say that, I'm putting the Dagon in the at the bottom of S tier. This might be I don't know how controversial this will be, but I don't care. I mean, Blight and Magnetar Dagon, Blight and Magnetar really made this thing work. And especially with the pre-nerf Tamer and Damir. Alright, next is the Curio. Probably the most unfair robot in the game, to me at least, is the Curio. I seriously wonder I certainly think Curio's how it works sounds really awesome on paper, but in reality, this thing was almost somewhat semi-invincible when it came out. And before its nerf. It's the nerfs for it really made it easier to kill, but this thing was it was infuriating to fight. For that, the Curio is going to be an S tier below the Ultimate Aochachi and above the Dagon. Now, all the things I said for the Scorpion, that applies to the Shenlu, but the Shenlu is going into B tier. Or actually, no, it's going to be at the top of C tier. It's fire. I felt it so stupid that a Scorpion that has the firepower of a Fenrir that can teleport 3 times was a little ridiculous, but that's now somewhat fine. Alright, we have ourselves the special one. We have the 10.0 robot, the Pathfinder. 10 years of Pixonic and War Robots, and this is the robot we got. And definitely of all the anniversary robots, the Pathfinder is single-handedly my favorite. Like, if you remember my Pathfinder video, this thing is a lot of fun. And for that, you know what? I'm putting this in S tier. I don't care. I don't care about what you say. If the Pathfinder is definitely not as good, is certainly not great enough to run as of now, but it is definitely the most fun robot in the game. And probably the one thing is if the enemy team has one, you have to kill it as fast as possible before its Pathfinder boost gets out of control. And I certainly love it. Next is the Raptor. The fucking Raptor. My least favorite robot in the game. If this were depending on how strong the robot, the Raptor would be S tier, top of S tier, above the Ultimate Fenrir. But this is because this video is my opinion. I don't care what anyone says, but fuck this thing. Fuck this robot. I hate this robot so badly that the fact that it's just a the orphan child of a luchador is even stupider. Like, Pixonic needs to come up with more unique ideas for the robots instead of taking what if we have a Titan here that everyone loves and considers to be great? What if we took that and made it into a baby that can jump twice? That's what they did, and they made probably the most disliked robot in the game. So, screw you guys. I'm putting the Raptor in F tier because I hate it. I certainly know it's good, but this is my opinion again. Next up is the Bagari. Definitely was controversial for how it works. I know the groundwork ability made it controversial, but seriously, I don't think that's much of a problem. But I do find it funny how Pixonic made this as a sniper robot, and yet a lot of people were running it as a brawler, like Glaciers and the Athos. Bagari is definitely going to be S tier above the Fenrir, but definitely below the Ultimate one. Just essentially the Bagari in general is almost like a jack of all trades robot. Like, no matter what role you give it, brawler, sniper, mid range, this thing is still going to perform pretty good. So therefore, its justification of S tier is fine. Oh boy. Now we bring into the one reason I wanted to make this video. We have the Condor. The Condor is literally the Phantom of War Robots. Not the Phantom of War Robots. I'm meaning this is the Phantom from Minecraft. Like, both of them are hated so much, but I kind of like the Minecraft Phantom, so shut up. But the Condor is probably the most unfair robot that has ever come out. Everything Wolfblood7 said in his video about it, I agree. Anyone who doesn't agree, I'm gonna go and say, you're an NPC, you're a disappointment to your family, you suck, you just want to try and join the big leagues, but the Condor is stupidly broken. How how was it ever deemed to be acceptable to release? I don't understand. It's certainly just the worst robot. It's invincible in the air. And if, like I said, commentary on Wolf17's video, if you somehow manage to do even anything to it, its ability is gonna come back because it's violent, can have Death Survivor. Why is this such a thing in the fucking game? Sorry. With all I've said about it, I don't think F tier is enough to describe my feelings. Actually, you know what? This thing has made me so angry. This pile of shit goes in the G. This thing goes in the G tier. Congratulations, Condor. You solidified yourself as the most pathetic excuse for a new robot ever. And the fact that I've ranted so badly on you get to the point in a tier worse than F tier. Congratulations! Sorry, I've never been so mad at a robot in my life. And I can still comfortably say that this, along with all the other ultimates, are just considered cash grabs for this fucking excuse for a company. Fuck Pixonic. This is the new piece of dog shit. And I refuse to, even after the title is gone, I refuse to use it. If I get a Condor, I will keep it in my collection. But I will never level one. I will never use it. Screw you guys. Your new release last month is going to be in the worst tier of this list. Screw you. Anyways, y'all, I'm not gonna bother ranking all the older ultimates. I have to cool down. But just this is my tier list of all the tier 4 robots, including some of the ultimates in the game. And to recap, in S tier, in order, we have the Ultimate Fenrir, the Bagari, regular Fenrir, Pathfinder, Ultimate Phantom and Aochachi, Curio, and the Dagon. A tier, the Nightingale, Emoji, Lynx, Ultimate Invader, Aochachi, Revenant, Leech, Phantom, Scorpion, and Crisis. B tier, Skyros, Revenant, Behemoth, Typhon, Angler, Harpy, Siren, Seraph, Invader, Ultimate Aries, Hawk, and Fafnir. C tier, Shenlu, Aries, Damir, Shell, Erebus, Blitz, Khepri, and Ophion. D tier, the Hades, Orochi, and Aochachi. F tier, the Jaeger, Raptor, Nether, and Raptor. And G tier is the Condor, because this thing, I hate this thing and so many others that I might as well put it in a tier. This robot is so complete that it miraculously gets a tier below F. That is a fucking accomplishment, and it's not a compliment. So you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Sorry for how long it is, but I genuinely want to do this video for quite a while, but man, just what a fucking accomplishment Pixonic did making the Condor. Just wow. I'm not even mad anymore. I'm just disappointed. I genuinely wish I can see some other company that could take picked robots and make it better. But a company that's better than Pixonic. Well, Epic Games it is. Or Microsoft, whichever one works. So anyways, thank you guys again. I gotta go cool down after everything I said about the Condor. I'm gonna go take a nap. Anyways, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.